Yes, you are listening to the Ready, Set, Retire radio podcast with Steve Anzuoni. My name is Jessica Forkel. Get more details on the website at fairwayfinancial.net.
You know, you hear it all the time, Steve. I'm just going to work until I die. I'm never going to be able to retire. It's never going to be possible. Well, according to a new survey by TIAA, nearly 2/3 of Americans say retiring between the ages of 65 and 70 is unattainable. So they say, well, we're going to work until I just physically can't. So when you think about it, what's that number one reason? Well, apparently it's replacing the guaranteed income that their job has provided. Talking about that paycheck there, because Social Security is not enough. So, Steve, for those who have saved and saved, but they don't think it's enough, what are your thoughts on this?
My first thought is you are not alone. There are a lot of people out there who feel concerned about will they have enough money to replace their check, because that's really the bottom line. And obviously, since pensions are a thing of the past for most of us, I mean, maybe 3 or 4% of people have pensions now. Yes, it's very alarming. So that's why I think people have done a better job just saving money. Over the last 10 years, I've noticed that. I've seen bigger 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, and that's a very positive thing. But what happens sometimes is the misdirection of where that money is, and always constantly just trying to seek growth on the money. Yeah, it makes sense, that statement, but it's really about income on the money, because that is the bottom line. You could have $1 million and you could take 5 or 6% out of there, and the timing of the market, you know, whenever you start to withdraw, you could literally run out of money in 15 years. You could. And that's the scary part for most people. And by the way, Jess, in my book, that's why I talk about the buckets of money and setting up the income plan first. Then you do the inflation hedge. And then there's the emergency money. And then your favorite, the fun
bucket.
Are you wearing purple today?
I sure am.
It is. So, see, that's the color of our fun bucket. So
listen, Steve, my middle name is Fun.
Seriously, the reason people are horrified about not spending too much money in retirement is they don't want to run out. Well, let me tell you something. People who see me, who set up plans with me, can't wait to spend money. You want to know why, Jess?
Yeah.
It's because they have an income plan, a true income plan, not a hypothetical one, but a true paycheck replacement plan. I like that. I'm going to go with that.
Paycheck replacement plan, a PRP.
A PRP. A PRP. But seriously, it's a huge thing. And ironically, you know, TIAA did this study, and they're one of the largest insurance companies out there, right? They're huge, and they do a lot of work with annuities, and that's probably why they did this study. Mm-hmm. The biggest barrier that people have is the income shortfall. They freak out about it, and Social Security is clearly not enough, especially where we live. I mean, God, we're in one of the most expensive areas of the country, so it's not going to happen. It's not going to make it. The key is the guaranteed income. I haven't met anybody yet that has said to me, Steve, I don't want any guaranteed income.
Yeah, I don't think that would happen, yeah.
I like to speculate when I retire.
Yeah, I just want to be unsure about how I'm going to pay for life. Not a big deal.
I've never heard anybody say, Steve, you're giving me too much income. I need to give some of it back. So here's the irony. People will say that, but then actually following through and doing that is where it gets interesting. And so in order to be ready for retirement, the first thing you need to do is figure out a way to replace most of your paycheck. You're very unlikely to replace all of it, Jess. And frankly, you probably don't need it, because if you're saving money in retirement and you're doing, I don't know, let's just say 15% of your paycheck, you don't need that much of your paycheck because you're not going to be building the piles as much in retirement. So the idea is to get a fairly clear picture. Now, you're never, ever going to know exactly what you need in retirement, because you might travel more, you might have more time in your hands, which could mean more money. So we have to figure it out. We need a game plan. So the game plan is kind of gathering a rough idea of what you're going to need and making sure that that number will be there no matter what happens. You could have all the wars, you can do this, you can do that, the market could be up or down, but that check is always going to be there. And if you think about it, when you're working, that check is always there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as long as you're physically up and working, the check's there.
Yeah.
And that's how we want that scenario to be in the future. So this study is really spot on. It is a driving influence of, as us Italians call it, agita. Okay?
Agita. Yes, you don't want the agita.
You don't want that. What you want is calmness during this time. You want somebody who's been around to guide you, to show you the way, to put together that PRP, paycheck replacement plan. I'm very serious about that, and you need to understand and look into that because that's what's going to help you give more financial confidence in the future. And it's going to give you a roadmap, if you will, to say, okay, well, at least I know I can rely on this and Social Security. And I call that the foundation plan of your overall plan. Then, of course, we have to count for inflation. And I call that my risk versus reward part of the plan. And most of you already have that in place. It's called a 401k, a 403b. That's where you are mostly. And then, obviously, everyone knows you need emergency money. That's a given, but most people don't have either they have too much or they don't have enough. And then you got to have some money that you're willing to spend, principal and interest. Yes, that's okay. That's another thing that I hear. Oh, I can't spend my principal in retirement. Yeah, you can if you have other monies to offset it. You most certainly can. And from a tax standpoint, that's the most helpful money to spend, is money you don't pay taxes on. So that's a beautiful thing. So the idea is to get together and just see where you're at. Call it a see where you're at meeting. Let's sit down and see, okay, here's what you got. Here's what's going on. Can you retire at this age or this age? You know, how does Social Security fit into all this? And that's what I do is I build a plan, your plan, not mine. It's a step-by-step plan using your numbers and your situation. And clearly, the objective is to have as little debt as possible going into retirement. One of the discussions I had with this couple was, should we pay off an existing mortgage now before we retired? And when we ran the numbers, it made sense for him to do it because the mortgage was at, I think, 6 or 6.25%. And obviously the savings he's earning was 3%, 3.5%. Clearly, they're going to save $750 a month, I think, paying it off and having less debt, which makes everybody feel better about, retiring. So let me help you, guide you through this. I've done it hundreds of times, so I can help you with that. Let me put a plan together for you that you can take, digest, change, look at, use it as a foundation, if you will. But at least you have something concrete in your hand that you can look at together with your spouse and say, okay, Steve, this looks good, but what if we did this or what if we did that? And that's perfect. We run the scenarios. Like, what if we took Social Security at 67? What if we took it at 70? Those are very, very common questions. Mm-hmm. I run all that for you. I'll show you the tax implications. I'll show you how it all works, and you'll love it. You'll have something that you can understand that, by the way, is no more than 2 pages long.
That's my favorite part. You're not getting an encyclopedia. This is very simple. It's simplified. It's easy to understand. I like that you're calling the see where you are meeting. I mean, that right there is crucial. So where are you on the road to retirement? Are you about to retire? Maybe 5 years from retirement? Do you have all your ducks in a row? So if you have been concerned, I've saved and saved and saved, but it's probably not enough. This is the conversation that you need to be having. The see where you are meeting with Steve Anzuoni. Again, guys, with over 30 years of experience, allow him to use all that and put that hard work into giving you the retirement you've always dreamed of. It's very, very simple. It starts with you calling today, 508-552-3230, 508-552-3230. That website, of course, fairwayfinancial.net. Now, Steve, really the truth of the matter is there are lots of financial professionals out there. There's some really big fancy names that we all know of. But what makes you different? Why should folks come in and sit down with you specifically when it comes to planning for their retirement?
That's a great question. I think my real life experience, and as I've said, you can't learn experience in a book. You've got to be out there. You've got to be talking to people, meeting with people, and incurring all kinds of situations that I can learn from, that I can share with the next couple and the next couple. But all those years, and being a small firm, purposely, I have a nice staff of people. I'll tell you what's the separator is my team is unbelievable. Nobody likes to sit on the phone with any of these firms and, for a half an hour, 45 minutes to get questions answered. And we do that constantly for our clients, Jess. We do all the phone work, do all the stuff behind the scenes that no one really wants to do. I think that's very helpful. And from my standpoint, I'm a regular blue-collar guy from Everett. I was raised, I'm a son of a cop. My mom stayed home to raise us, and she had a great job at the bank, but gave that up for us. And I just feel like I have a lot of good blue-collar work ethic that has helped me through a lot of difficult times in the past and gotten me through and lead me down this road to where I'm at. And I can share all that with people. I can share my experiences, my years of knowledge and wisdom, learning the ropes here. And with my team, we're pretty much the complete package. I mean, we have a great attorney we work with. We have a great money manager, and we have a wonderful CPA firm, all with vast years of experience that can make things less complicated for people. Honestly, all I think people need is a little coaching. Like most people have done, like I said earlier, the heavy lifting.
Sure.
They just need to get to the finish line and tweak a few things. And that's what I've seen. In all the years that I've been working, I found that most people just need tweaks. And that's what I'm here for, is to take the emotion out of it and put the logic in it. And that's what you need. Emotion is not a good thing when it comes to investments. When it comes to relationships, all day long. But when it comes to investments, it's not a good thing. So we want to handle it logically, professionally, and with a great team to be responsive and follow up on things. And we deliver. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, no one likes to be told something and then not have it done. I know that drives me crazy. But we deliver, and we've been here a long time. So I think that's what makes me different than most other firms, Jess. That family thing.
Yeah, the family dynamic, the feeling you have when you visit there in the office, very boutique, very, small. This is not a place where you're going to come and just be a number. Steve's going to know you personally, know your spouse, know your kids, your grandkids, because he's interested in that. Yes, let's talk about all the fancy stuff, but then it's, hey, what happened when you guys went to Disney World? Or, you mentioned your grandson was applying to college. Which one did he get in? These are the things that make Steve different, right? He cares about you. It's not a transactional relationship, guys. This is where you're actually going to build trust and build a relationship. Again, I invite you to come in and experience the difference there at Fairway Financial. That phone number, 508-552-3230, 508-552-3230. The website, fairwayfinancial.net. I tell you what, I cannot believe this is what makes me always realize I'm getting older is that, Macaulay Culkin, the little kid from Home Alone, he is 45, Steve.
That's crazy.
Take that in. The little kid that screams when he puts the aftershave on his face. Traps all the robbers.
What a great movie.
Oh, my gosh. That's a staple in my house for sure.
Yeah.
45 years old. He says that on the Smart List podcast that he realizes now his career is mostly in the rearview mirror, but he also says he's got more important things to worry about.
Standard stuff. We want to make sure, I raised my boys right, that our cups are full, it's that kind of thing. Again, if I never work again, I'm totally fine when it comes to acting or anything like that. Like I said, every job's my last job. I'm in a constant state of retirement until I'm not, and then I retire again. So yeah, my trick is I don't look for satisfaction over there.
Interesting there. Every job is my last job and then I retire again. That's interesting. So he can kind of pick and choose what he wants to do. But what should someone consider before retiring if they're even thinking, well, maybe I'll unretire later?
I always talk about that, too, with people and just say, look, if you think you're going to be done, like I have a really good friend of mine, and he swears this time, January, he's calling it quits. And I talk about it with his other buddies, and I'm like, what do you think? Is he going to stay retired? And we're all like, I doubt it. He's going to need something to do. But we all need to have purpose. It's what keeps us going. It's what gets us up in the morning, gives us something to do. And just because you retired from one job, it doesn't mean you retire from life. I have a really good friend who was a mechanic for 40 years. And now he's working part-time at Home Depot, and he's loving it. And he's finding he's got a purpose, and obviously it's part-time, but he loves it, and it keeps him active. So there's nothing wrong with doing that. What I guess you don't want to be in is a situation where you have to unretire because of financial reasons. And so I always try to make sure that if my clients want to go to work again or keep busy, I'm all in for that. I think it's very good. And it might even be good for the relationship, Jess.
Yeah, sometimes you need a little space. You know what I mean?
You get home, you're like, who are you?
Like, oh, my gosh, you're here again?
I'm your spouse. We've been together for 50 years. Oh. So, but what are you going to do with your time? It's almost as important as the financial numbers. You got to have a plan for what are you going to do with those extra 8-9 hours a day for 5 days a week. So we talk about that a lot. I mean, a matter of fact, I had a couple come in recently from the radio show, and they were talking about the same thing. And I said, financially, you're in pretty good shape. I think you know that. But what are you going to do with your time? And he kind of looked at me and looked at his wife. And he said,
what are we doing, honey? Yeah.
Right. That's the biggie, So,
but I think that's the thing, though. There's two sides of the coin here. If you're going to unretire because you just miss doing what you're doing, you want to be around people, you're just bored trying to find something to do. I guess that's one thing. As you mentioned, your friend there working at Home Depot and probably loves it. The interaction is part time. There's not really as much pressure there. You're kind of doing it because you want to. Right. If they let you go tomorrow, it wouldn't matter, kind of deal. Or are you going back to work? Are you unretiring because you're not financially sound, right? Maybe you didn't put the right planning in, and all of a sudden you're turning 70, 75 going, I'm going to run out of money. I got to go to Walmart and be a greeter. Yeah. I mean, two sides of the coin there. But that's what, Steve, when you work with individuals, that's what we're trying to avoid. We don't want you to be 70, 75, 80 and going, oh my gosh, guys, I'm going to run out of money. And part of that comes from obviously the income plan, the financial plan, but also, having the ability to be honest with yourself and say, all right, so I've got this big pile of money. I've got the buckets that Steve set up for me, and realizing that eventually, if you're going on 4 and 5 trips a year, eventually you're dwindling down that pile of money quickly.
It's true because, travel has gotten more expensive. It is what it is. But that is a thing that I take a lot of pride in, is to make sure that whoever comes in, whoever we talk to, who becomes a client, I don't ever want them to fear running out of money. That is my number one objective, is to make sure that if they don't want to work anymore, they don't have to work anymore. So for me, you got to have that plan in place first. And then, if you want to do your thing, like, we joke on the show about me someday being a ranger on the golf course,
Yes.
I could see myself doing that, having a good time driving around, getting a couple of free rounds of golf in. So that could be a plan down the road, but have a plan like that. And a lot of people do what they did as a hobby. Now that they retire, they kind of get into it more. Like I have a friend of mine who painted as a hobby while he worked, and now he's retired, and he's painting like crazy. And you should see some of the work he does. Unbelievable.
Does he sell it too to make some income?
Yeah.
Awesome.
He's going to these shows, and he displays his paintings. I've bought 1 or 2. I mean, he does amazing work, but it was just a hobby for him while he was working. So that could happen. And then people are definitely into woodworking, and they have shops in their house, and they can make stuff, and that's pretty cool. So there's a lot of things you can do. So I think it's a very, very important part of the retirement planning process is, do you want to work part-time someday again, and how are you going to fill your time?
Get more details on the website, fairwayfinancial.net. That's fairwayfinancial.net.
Steve Anzuoni is a licensed insurance provider by the Division of Insurance and is not registered as an investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Steve Anzuoni, Massachusetts Insurance License 3851053. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Steve Anzuoni is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Steve Anzuoni is licensed in your state, please call 508-398-3337.